It began as a joke, or at least that's what she insisted. We were preparing for a friend's anniversary dinner. She stood in front of the mirror, slipping into a black dress that seemed to command every gaze in the room. I told her she looked incredible and she laughed, brushing off the compliment the way she had lately. "Careful," she said with a sly smile as she adjusted her earrings. "I might meet two men half your age tonight." She meant it playfully, or at least that's what she claimed. But her words landed like a soft, stinging slap. I returned a polite smile, the kind a man learns to wear when arguing is pointless. "Maybe you will," I said, straightening my tie. "Just make sure they can cover dinner." She rolled her eyes. "Oh please. Don't be so dramatic. We used to tease one another like this and laugh." Now, every remark carried a hidden blade, testing how much I could endure before cracking. For months she had changed, always glued to her phone, always distracted. I wasn't the jealous type, but when someone you love stops seeing you the same way, the hurt creeps in like a slow, invisible bruise. At the dinner, she became the center of attention, laughing, brushing shoulders, soaking up admiration. I listened half-heartedly to conversations and watched her perform. When a friend asked how she had so much energy, she winked and said, "It must be all the young blood around me lately." Laughter erupted, and I stayed silent, finishing my drink, a decision quietly forming in my mind. If she wanted to toy with pride, I would demonstrate what happens when a man stops chasing approval. The next morning, I booked a special escape, not for her but for me. A private weekend retreat, a reminder of who I had been before her jabs became routine weapons. When I told her I would be away, she frowned. "Where are you going?" "Somewhere I don't have to be the punchline," I said, voice calm. Her laugh came, but it lacked its usual confidence. That night, she left for her friend's gathering. I had always felt uneasy about this group, too loud, too flirtatious, returning home too late. I smiled. "Have fun," I said, and returned to my book. Something shifted within me that night. Not because I thought she would act on her joke, but because she could even say it. Words like that don't appear from nothing. They grow from distance, neglect, and the testing of boundaries. When she returned in the early hours, half drunk and uncertain, the house was dark and empty. I had left a note on the counter. "You joked about finding two men half my age. I hope they make you laugh the way I used to." Her phone buzzed incessantly the following morning, calls, texts, voice notes, all tinged with a rising panic. When she finally arrived at the cabin 3 days later, the confident woman who had left was gone. Her hair was messy, her eyes puffy, her voice fragile. I sat on the porch, coffee in hand, watching fog drift over the lake. She stood there, clutching the note as though it were the last piece of me she could grasp. "I didn't mean it," she admitted. "It was just a joke." "That's the problem," I replied quietly. "You stopped caring about the things that mattered and began mocking them instead." She sank onto the porch steps, trembling, and spoke of the emptiness she felt that night, the hollow laughs, the shallow attention-seeking, the realization that none of it made her feel alive. She described the panic when she returned home to find me gone. She had expected anger, a fight, a plea. Instead, silence filled the house, and that silence, she admitted, was louder than any argument we had ever had. For the first time in years, I let her speak without interruption. And for the first time in years, she truly listened to me. I explained how her constant teasing, her comparisons, and her flirting had worn me down bit by bit, until I had begun shrinking inside my own marriage to make her feel bigger, more admired, more alive. She cried quietly, the sort of tears that arrive when truth finally lands. "I thought you'd always be here," she whispered. "I thought no matter what I said, you'd never leave." I stood, placing my empty mug on the railing. "That's exactly why I had to," I said. As I passed, she reached for my hand, but I did not stop. I wasn't leaving out of anger. I was leaving because I had reclaimed my peace. Driving down the gravel road, her reflection in the rearview mirror shrank until it vanished completely, like the echo of a joke that had never been funny.